we will be many parsecs away, drinking our Rhino in peace.
Hey everyone, we are back with another breakdown of Andor, but this time it's episodes 4 through 6.
Maybe I'm a snitch, and you're my payday.
I'm not sure I'm a fan of this drop 3 episodes every week thing.
Calibrate your enthusiasm.
But I mean, I don't know, maybe I can get used to it. Let me know what you think in the comments. I'm back on camera also. I think you might have noticed, it's kind of obvious. It turns out that you guys like to see my face. I don't get it, but maybe you can explain it. Another thing to leave in the comments right after you like and subscribe. All right, let's get to it. Episode 4 starts a full year after the events of Episode 3, and the team has now settled on Coruscant. This is probably so that Luthen can keep a close eye on them, and Bix and Wilmon are becoming a vital member of the team, just like Cassian. They're not Cassian, but they are becoming a part of the team. That being said, Bix is still suffering from horrible, and I mean horrible PTSD. She wakes up every night and sees Dr. Gauss, the guy that put the headphones on her that had the baby aliens that were all being murdered, and then the sound of them makes humans just go insane almost immediately, and he would give it to her in like 10-second bursts, and to her it felt like years and years of sonic torture. So yeah, he's not a good guy, and she keeps on seeing him in her dreams. This time she actually sees him torturing someone, and Cassian is the boss, and he's saying that Cassian needs this person taken care of now that they've gotten the information, kind of showing that she's starting to get a little blurred on where the lines are, or maybe even the torture made her not really know which side is the good side, you know what I mean? But either way, she does have Cassian. He tries to help her, but she doesn't really want to talk about it. But he is trying his best to do right by her and to try to get her the help that she needs. They can't go to like a therapist or something about it, but maybe to try to keep her out of the more stressful situations and stuff like that.
Relax, babe. It's all part of the branding plan, isn't it?
Next, we go to planet Gorman, which from a distance is starting to mirror like a Jewish planet even more, and it's starting to really take the form of like a World War II pre-war Germany, actually, before they kicked all of the Jewish people out, and there were all these people that are artisans, and they make these fabrics and these silks and all of these things, and they are going to be pushed out by the Empire. If you don't remember what happened, go ahead and click here because there's already a video for that. Cyril is now like the head of his department on planet Gorman, and he's really settling in. Like, he really, really likes it there, or at least that's what he says. And he's also talking about maybe being a little bit disillusioned with the Empire. And that's on his weekly talks with his mother, you know, the ones that Deidre set up for him, and well, set up for her, or whatever you want to say. And it seems like at this point, a year into it, that maybe Deidre and Cyril might have even split up. But that's actually probably just what they want you to think. We'll get to that in just a minute, okay? It turns out that the Gorman rebels are actually listening to Cyril, or maybe just everything going out of his office, just so that they can try to figure out what the Empire is doing on Gorman. And when they're listening, they're liking what they're hearing. Cyril is literally saying everything like, I don't know why the Empire would be oppressing these people. It doesn't really seem like they have anything. It doesn't really seem to make sense, so I just don't get it, and they keep on hearing this, so maybe that's planting a little seed in their head. On the other side, Cassian, living on Coruscant, is super paranoid. He doesn't like it when people are noticing him, and he doesn't like it whenever people are recognizing them because they're going to the same place. That's how somebody like him gets caught, and he lives in the world now. He is constantly a spy. He is never not a spy, and he's constantly worried about Bix.
I'm a spy. I'm a spy.
And we find out that Bix is not happy with their current situation. She feels very isolated and alone, and she's also going through this PTSD. He's trying to fix it, but remember, the war is in the precursor part of it. They don't really have a game plan yet. They're just trying to sprout resistant movements on different planets and do whatever they can to upset Imperial operations. But they don't really have a plan. Everything is in the baby stages of the rebellion, you know? So think about it this way, Obi-Wan is still living on a cave in Tatooine, Luke and Leia are preteens, teens, somewhere along that, and Han is a young, talented smuggler somewhere. He might even still be in the Imperial Army at this point. I think it's probably around the same time as Solo, a Star Wars story. We should look that up. I'll look that up, and I'll just put it right here. I'm not gonna look it up because I'm on camera right now, but I'm gonna put it right here on the time difference. Back on Gorman, Cyril gets a note from the Resistance, and it's in a dead spider, or maybe it's like a fake spider, but it's in a spider, and that's cool, I guess. I mean, if that's what you want. And it basically says to come to a meeting and that certain people want to talk to him more seriously about stuff.
Amen.
First thing he does is he needs to go and tell Deidre about this because he's not actually on the Gorman side, obviously. I mean, maybe you thought that for just a second, but he's trying to set himself up as the double agent. He's trying to be the person on the inside that they think is actually turning against the Empire, but really he's for the Empire and trying to embed himself in their organization. And their organization isn't much. There are a bunch of artisans. It would be like if a bunch of textile workers decided to form an army. It's very unorganized. It is what it is. And with everything the Empire is doing to Gorman, they are just completely actually trying to destroy the culture of Gorman so that they can go in and strip mine the entire planet. With that happening, Luthen is very interested. So he wants to send Cassian, but he wants to send Cassian without Bix. The real reason is he wants to go and talk to Bix because he doesn't care if they're a relationship. He doesn't care. They don't come as a team. He just needs operatives, and he doesn't really care who they are and the feelings of the operatives. He just wants to get the job done, and that is a good thing for the rebellion. It's a bad thing if you are one of his employees. You know, I've worked for people that are kind of like that. Back on Gorman, whenever Cyril gets to this meeting, he plays the part actually pretty well because all of the same fears are there for him. I don't think that this is a sanctioned mission, and he knows that. He knows that if he gets caught, he's not going to be able to just say, hey, I'm a spy for the ISB and I work with Deidre Miro. That's not going to happen. He's actually going to get tortured and killed and all that stuff. So the fear is real, so he's not really playing a part, but he gets the job done. They accept him at least on a preliminary basis, you know? So he is now the double agent for the Gorman movement. So the first thing that he needs to do is go and get some manifests for some transports because they want to know what they're building, because basically they believe that they're building an armory right next to a memorial, which I will explain to you in a second what this memorial is for. It's for 500 Gorman that were massacred, right? But how they were massacred is crazy, and I'm gonna explain to you in just a second. But at the meeting, everything just goes Cyril's way. They even make a joke about him being an Imperial spy. It's awkward for us, and I'm sure honestly awkward for them. And we find out something very troubling back on the home front on Coruscant is that Bix is now addicted to some drug. It could be death sticks. Cue the quote.
You wanna buy some death sticks?
You don't want to sell me death sticks.
I'm not entirely sure, but she's not doing well with the PTSD. It's the reason why that Luthen didn't send her on a mission. He's very perceptive, and he realized immediately that she's drugged out. It wasn't even a question in his mind. And then he just left. Then we find out the reason why we haven't seen Willman, he's not the most important character, but he is the third member of the team, and I did wonder where he was. Turns out that he is on a solo mission for Luthen, and he is meeting with Saul Guerrera, who is not the nicest guy. He needs to do something with some sort of machine. It's not exactly explained perfectly. It kind of feels like defusing a bomb or doing something to a machine before it blows up. It seems very quick. And there's 8 algorithms, and you have to know all of the different algorithms or whatever so that you can be prepared. And he's trying to teach it to another engineer in Saul's team. And Saul is basically just going to kill him whenever he's done. And that's kind of where we end episode 4. Episode 5 is a little bit through someone new's perspective. Keeley, I think that's how you say her name, Keeley.
Word becomes sound. What's that called again?
She is the one that's always on the radio. So the intro, instead of having the normal music, actually has someone dialing through and switching through all of these different radios. And you definitely hear like Darth Vader breathing and maybe like an Obi-Wan Kenobi or a young Obi-Wan. But she does eventually stop on, remember the rich criminal that Mon Mothma got her daughter to marry so that she could fix the financial problems because she's funding the rebellion, right? Okay, so now you're caught up. That guy, they stuck a listening device inside one of the antiques that they gave him so that they could hear what's going on in his world, I guess. I don't really know exactly why they would need that. I don't know how involved he is exactly. I mean, I guess he is now, and I guess it helps protect their investments in case he decides to turn on Mon. But either way, he finds out that he has a fake antique, and he wants to go ahead and appraise all of the antiques to make sure he's never been sold any other fake antiques, because I'm sure they're not cheap. I get where he's coming from, but that poses a problem, because now if they don't get that listening device, they're all screwed. Meanwhile, Cassian is on Gorman, and he's looking good. Like, I'm just saying, he's looking good, okay? And he basically gets there and deduces that they are not ready for what they're asking for. I don't know if he even believes that they know what they're asking for. They are artisans, like we talked about, and they have a lot of spirit and they have a lot of hope. And like we know,
rebellions are built on hope.
But that doesn't mean that these Gorman rebels are going to be able to fight the entire empire. In fact, they don't have any sort of spaceships or any sort of navy or whatever you want to call it. So there's no way they could, because all they would do is bomb them from space. And also, let's go ahead and get to it. Whenever Cassian gets there, he asks the bellhop to explain what the memorial is. Remember the memorial we talked about for 500 Gorman that were massacred. Turns out that Grand Moff Tarkin, yeah, you know who we're talking about, the famous Grand Moff Tarkin, the one that destroyed countless planets, you know, Princess Leia's homeworld. He's not a good guy. He has a very crazy backstory. He's not fun to be around. Turns out he was in charge of putting down some sort of rebellion or protest or whatever, and they thought in Gorman that there was safety in numbers, so as long as they were together, they could never be actually killed, maybe arrested or rounded up or something, but not killed. And Grand Moff Tarkin, it's kind of hard to say. He just landed the ship on them. He didn't like blast them or anything. He said, either move or I'm gonna land the ship. And you know, they didn't move, so he landed the ship. Honestly, it's kind of their own fault. No, that's not right. I don't know. Guys, I'm just saying, if they were going to, you know, drop a ship on us or land a ship on us, I would move. My convictions might not be strong enough, but I'm just saying, I would move. I would definitely move.
Poser ass bitch.
And while Cassian is still checking out Gorman, Cyril is dealing with his own problems. The ISB show up and they want to sweep for listening devices. And he thinks this is completely bullcrap, or at least he's playing the part that this is completely bullcrap.
We're bugging our own office.
Think about it. If he says, oh my God, I can't believe that you would do this, then he becomes a disgruntled employee, someone that would even be more likely to go to the rebel side. Another reason why they believe that he would do something like that, making him even more enticing to these rebels to help him share information. And he has already helped them, but he didn't have a listening device. So he causes a big stink about it, and he says that he's going to, take this up the chain of command. He goes real Karen about it. He goes real Cyril Karen about it. You can see on his face that there is a Karen just waiting to get out at any moment. His mother is in there, you know what I mean? Like,
it's a lesson that never ends.
In a really weird, it puts the lotion in the basket, Bates Hotel kind of way. His mother is inside that face, you can see it. Luthen is finally getting brought into the fold about the whole rich criminals art having the listening device in it, and how if they're caught, it's gonna cause big trouble for everyone.
You heard this on the bug.
So he gets really, really mad and he starts yelling and everything like that. And it is kind of his own fault, but there are so many strands in the web that they are weaving that it's almost impossible for him to keep up, and he doesn't trust anyone. And that means he has to trust Kalia, and that's not easy for him. So she is kind of the one that keeps all of this organized, and you can only keep it organized in your head, because if you write it down, that's evidence. So she has to just keep everything going, and he can't possibly do it, play the double lives, go on the missions, and keep all of these different things that they have in play together, and it's starting to really stress him out. And she calms him down, but that's not really good enough, let's be honest. And that's when we flash back to Gorman, and Cass is giving his assessment of what they should do, and it is nothing. To try to figure out a way to get a bigger army, to understand tactics better, to be more prepared before you do anything is kind of his advice, and they don't like hearing that, and it doesn't really go over well with the head honcho of the Gorman rebels. He has the youngest silk producing factory with only 19 generations of their family. So I just want to say he's kind of a big deal, okay? All right. Remember, Saul has Wilmon, and they finally get to the point wherever he is going to, get rid of him, because Wilmon is evidence on what his location is and how many people he has and their plans, all of this stuff. So they're just going to get rid of him. But he feeds some information to the guy that he was training. It's also kind of interesting. It's almost like Saul knew that this guy wasn't going to be able to figure it out too, because this guy wasn't even close. You know, he had one day to figure this thing out, and he wasn't close. He could only do one of the 8. And even then, he didn't have one of them down. He was just saying like, oh, if you only made me concentrate on one. And that's not really how it works. He put some information out there. When he came back around, it turned out that guy was a spy. So instead of getting rid of Wilmon, they got rid of him. Wilmon is now on deck. So they go do a mission, and Saul is supposed to be wearing a mask because I guess the air is toxic in a way. Maybe it makes you kind of, high. Let's be honest, you get a little bit toasted, a little stoned.
I'm so high!
And Saul starts monologuing, and his story is absolutely insane.
Because she's my sister, Rido, and she loves me.
But it definitely strikes a chord with Wilmon. He actually starts to, I wouldn't say he is like into it, but he eventually takes his own mask off and he gets, super high too. And I'm not gonna lie, I think this is the last time that Cassian and Biggs can count on Wilmon. I think he's now on Saul's side. He has been completely indoctrinated into that. Saul is crazy, but I think it worked for Wilmon. And Luthen actually picks up Cassian, which probably isn't something that they do a lot. They get into his really cool ship. I call it the Spy Cruiser. It's actually called the Fondor Hullcraft, but that really sucks, so we're gonna call it the Spy Cruiser, okay? If that can catch on, I will literally come to every single one of your house and bring you a cupcake. I'm just not gonna lie. If that makes it onto Wikipedia, I will come and give everyone a cupcake. That is not a lie, that is serious. I will logistically figure it out. I have done some crazy stuff in my life, and I've made some crazy stuff happen. If that catches on, I'll make it happen. Anyways, back to what we were talking about. The debriefing does not go well. Andor is against everything that has to do with this building a front on the Gorman planet, because they're not ready for it. They're all artisans, they're all weak. They don't understand what they're asking for, seems to be his thing. And Luthen doesn't care about that. He sees it as a PR opportunity. He sees it as a way to ignite other planets by seeing this planet rise up. This planet that is not a poor planet by any means. This planet has everything. It doesn't need to fight. Of course, Luthen doesn't know what the total plan is. Gorman totally needs to fight. They need to mobilize every single person. They need to mobilize the spiders. They need to you got 40 billion spiders. If you just turn those on that would be really cool if that's what's happening. If at the end of this, all of the spiders end up attacking all of the Imperial officers that are on Gorman, everybody has to bring me a cupcake. dang, you saw how that just turned around? Oh, I'm getting so many cupcakes. But yeah, Luthen doesn't like this way of thinking. He doesn't like the way that Cassian is a bit of a pessimist or maybe a realist. And he basically says you need to get all the way in or you need to get out, and there is no way out. So you need to get all the way in is basically what he's saying. And at the ISB, they're gonna change up some assignments, especially with Lonnie, the spy that we follow. He's gonna now start working with Dr. Gauss. That's not good for us because he won't be like right next to the action anymore. But I mean, it might be good for Lonnie's career, but it's not good for Luthen and the Axis for them having someone on the inside so they know how to avoid getting caught. And so Luthen can act without worrying as much. Speaking of that, whenever Cassian says no, he just decides to go ahead and send Vel. And Vel meets up with Cinta, and they launch a plan with the Gormans to steal this stuff. And it basically just, hijack a transport. They blow it up and they want to take everything off of it. They're gonna use the subway lines. It's actually a good plan. They're good. They've done this before. They did this with the money depository or whatever that they did. And they went and they stole, tons and tons of Imperial credits. So what is this? This is an easy job for them, and they're having their own moment, because they are now 2 years, kind of apart. And it turns out that Cinta had an injury and got hurt or was injured in one of her missions, and she kind of realized what's important, and what she realized that she needs something to fight for, and this whole time she's been fighting for Vel. And so she wants to be with Vel, and after 2 years she is gonna, she wants to give it a shot. And Vel, trying to be strong, has been wanting this the whole time. So she says yes, I guess. It's not how they kind of word everything. I'm kind of, bundling it up into a little ball, but, they express that they care about each other and that they want it to work. And, things are going to maybe go back to the way things were, and that's what Vel's wanted this whole time. In the meantime, Dedra and Cyril's plan is going perfectly. Cyril is now their #1 agent for the Gorman rebels, so he knows everything, and they're going to test to make sure that his stuff is reliable. They said that they're gonna take this transport. Dedra is risking a lot though, because she actually does care for Cyril in her own way. She was raised in a labor camp, and Cyril was, raised by his mother. So they're both kind of touched by Jesus when it comes to emotions. They're emotionally stunted. They're not, they don't know how to show each other that they love each other. Like whenever Cyril comes to visit, they have 1 hour and they turn the lights off, and I'm sure it's boring missionary. I mean, that's the best Cyril could hope for ever. And I'm not that I would be complaining. I'm just saying some missionary would be nice. And either way, what I'm saying is that they're not the most lovey-dovey of couples. They're not gonna hold hands. I doubt they cuddle at nighttime. They're very meticulous. They don't like things to be out of place. It's like if two OCD Asperger's people moved in together, and that's what it is. It's fine. It works for them, but also they are dedicated to taking down Axis. So the first thing they need to do is get Cyril embedded into the Rebel Alliance, right? Or the Rebel Alliance before it was the Rebel Alliance. And this is actually a big risk, like we said, because Cyril is not like in the ISB's plan, So he is kind of a rogue agent. Yes, a few of them know about it, but if he's caught, I don't think anyone's gonna come to his rescue. He's gonna just get caught. She might be risking the, love of her life. At least the man she cares about, but he'll do anything for her, and he'll do anything to be important. And we see that whenever they give a speech to like the head of the ISB, and when it goes well, Cyril is like, I say that this is the happiest day of my life. And to be honest, Deidre seems a little taken back by that. It's like maybe the happiest day of your life should have been whenever you first kissed her or whenever they got together. I don't know. She's taken back for a second because I think she puts a little bit more stock into things and Cyril is a little bit more tunnel visioned. I also don't know if he meant anything about it. He's kind of a dunce, so he might just have been just being stupid and not realizing that he is making his girlfriend mad. And I've done that too. Yeah, I've done that a few times. Anyways, Mon was trying to get the votes to save Gorman. That didn't work out for her. She's really mad, and everybody is kind of heading to that party. They have to go to this party to try to get that recording device out. Mon is just going, but Luthen and his assistant have to get this recording device, and it's very important or a lot of things can get messed up, especially when they find out that director Krennic is at the party. And Mon has a few words with him and they go back and forth, giving them enough time to, you know, get it out. And they walk away really happy, smiles on their faces, something finally going right, and Luthen having like a very tangible win, something he can hold on to. So it kind of comes with a little bit of renewed vigor trying to get this little thing out of the bottom of this antique. And on the other side, Bix is having a little bit of trouble, you know, kicking this habit of death sticks or whatever she's on, and she's high as hell, let's be honest. And Cassian is making some excuses like it's early, blah blah blah, she has PTSD, blah blah blah, but he does really know that she's high, and Luthen is calling them again. And Bix wants to go on the mission this time. And we don't get to find out what the mission was. But anyways, back to the party. They see Senator Organa, who is now being played by Benjamin Bratt. It's actually a good switch up. I don't know why they switched it up. Probably just because he's supposed to be of a certain age, but I don't really know. Maybe it was a scheduling conflict. Either way, this was a good move. I'm gonna look up to see what that is. I might cut this part out if it turns out that he got canceled for something. We'll figure it out. But anyways, back to the heist. It's actually going pretty well. They're actually pulling it off so far. Everyone's in their positions, even though they had a little bit of a worry that people are green. And it turns out that Cinta is an actual
Billy Badass.
She's flipping over. It's like she's a Jedi. I mean, she's not a Jedi. It's not as smooth as a Jedi. Maybe she's an untrained Jedi. Maybe she just never got to actually go to the academy or whatever, but she is pretty awesome. But whenever the man that was angry at the meeting that we were talking about way earlier, he comes by and he is like angry, so he's not gonna let anyone tell him where he can and cannot go. So whenever this young rebel pulls a gun on him, telling him to stop and that you have to go the other way, they get into a little tussle and only one shot is fired, just one, and it hits Sita, the best fighter, the only person that was really making it happen. Vale is the thinker, but she can't really do it alone, and Sita could do it alone, and that was it's a big hit, and Vale doesn't take it very well. She kind of emotionally breaks right there. And whenever she gets a chance to talk to the guy that, the gun went off and killed Sita, she's actually really, really mean. Like, I'm not kidding. Like, she's real, like, sadistically Game of Thrones level mean. Like, she puts this guy down, and she basically, I mean, what she's saying is fair, but she basically says that, you're nothing, and she was a hero, and you killed her over nothing. You're gonna have to live with that, and you're gonna have to wear it like skin for the rest of your life. And it's tough in the moment, but it is true that, she didn't deserve to go out that way, but it's also true that it was an accident, and this guy thought that he was, a
Billy Badass.
And he ends up, killing someone that wasn't innocent, but was not in the line of fire, and it didn't go well. But anyways, back to our main characters, Cassian and Bix. We actually see Dr. Gauss. We just explained who he was, but if you need a refresher, he's the guy that tortured Bix with the sound of dying baby aliens. That's a lot to say. He does it. He sadistically does it. He enjoys it. Bix just kind of pops out at him and is just like, hey, what's up? Sets him up in the machine, turns it on full blast, and then leaves. Remember, they were only giving her little bursts of it, and it felt like decades of torture. Whenever she's walking out, she just pops a shot at the guard, takes him out too. It's very Tarantino style, to be completely honest with you. It's not the only thing in these episodes that kind of reminded me of a Inglourious Bastards or something like that. Disney would never admit that, but I'll admit that there's a little bit of Inglourious Bastards, especially in the last episode whenever they're doing the heist and things like that. So you actually kind of think that Bix might be going rogue, that Cassian might have gone on a mission, and that with the drugs that she might have just been going crazy, and this is going to be really bad because they're supposed to be spies, and it's going to, you know, bring a lot of heat down on them, and it's not going to turn out well, is what you're kind of worried about. But then you see Cassian show up. It turns out that he was there the whole time. He was just planting the bombs. Anyways, that's where our episode ends, and we will see you next week. Make sure you like and subscribe, and let's go ahead and get this video to 500 likes, and I will eat a cupcake in one bite on this for you guys. One bite, just like stuff my face. Not a little cupcake. I'll go get a big, you know, like Crave cupcakes. I don't know if they have Crave cupcakes everywhere, but just a big, I'll go get a big cupcake and I'll just shove it in my mouth if y'all all like and subscribe right now. Okay. I'll see you next time. Hey, thanks for watching. Click here for more videos and subscribe to keep up with all the Blake's World updates. I'd appreciate it. All right, I'll see you next time.